What's up, dudes? Welcome back to Duty's Daggers, and I'm talking about slip joints today, obviously. So I went through pretty much a whole week. Well, not pretty much. I went through a whole week, 5 days of just carrying a slip joint only. Usually, my daily carry is a slip joint and then a locking knife. So the locking knife is kind of my primary knife that I always grab for cutting stuff, and then my slip joint will be something in a different blade shape. That way, I have some variety and I can kind of switch it up. But what happens is I end up using my primary knife way more than the slip joint. Number one, because it's easier to get to. It's right in my pocket. I just pull it out, flick it open, and cut something. And I think that's really the only real reason is it's just easier to get to. Um, you know. So if I eliminate that option, then I'm forced to go down in my pocket, pull out my slip joint, pop it open, cut something, put it away. So it does take a little bit longer, but I'm not in a rush, man. Do I really need to shave off 5 seconds? Not really, no. And I love slip joints, so I thought it'd be interesting to just force myself to only use the slip joint for a week. And these are the 5 knives that I carried. I tried to mix up modern with traditional. So we'll go down. I don't remember which order I carried this in, but I carried the new Ohio Riverjack in clip point blade shape. This is a great one and done slip joint. It's super heavy duty. This new version with the hollow grind is real nice. With the S90V, we get a little more edge retention. And the blade shape's really versatile. It's a clip point, but it's a low tip on it. You can still easily get to it for utility cutting. And you got that little bit of belly for when you need it. This one has jimping too. The only knife on the table with jimping, because slip joints just don't usually have jimping, but this one does, and it feels really good. It's really grippy. It's also probably the best sharpening choil on the table. Actually, no, that's a lie. This one has a better one, but it's really good for a slip joint. It's excellent. These are still available, by the way, at traditionalpocketknives.com. You can grab one if you want. There's a sheep's foot, a Warncliffe, a spear point, and the clip point. And they're $185, and if you use code DUTYTPK, you can get it for $180. Pretty good. Floki's whining, so I'm going to have to let him out real quick. Go ahead. Then I carried my GEC Yellow Rose, one of the crown jewels of my slip joint collection. It's absolutely beautiful. This is a number 86 Barlow, I guess. Yellow Rose. Look at how beautiful it is. High polish on the blade. I've cut a few aesthetic things with it, so we got a little patina going on here. It's beautiful. Really good blade shape for having it be your only knife, Spear points, super versatile. Great walk and talk on this. It's got the best walk and talk of any of my GECs. It's just really, really crisp, man. Love it. It's absolutely beautiful. It's a pretty good sized knife, too. It's even a little longer than the ORJ, so more edge. And this was a pleasure to carry. The Serge Panchenko Slip 7. Fantastic slip joint, man. Gosh, this thing's good. The best walk and talk of any slip joint I've ever handled, period. Modern or traditional, the best. It's just the crispiest and poppiest walk and talk I've ever felt. Crazy. Pretty good blade shape for, all kinds of stuff. You don't really have a lot of belly to work with. It is a sheep's foot. But you have a little bit of belly. It's thin blade stock. It's very thin behind the edge. This is a really good slicer. And a really good sharpening choil. Check that out. Super good. An epic stone wash, or acid wash, I guess, over everything. Just a really industrial looking knife. It looks like a tool. You know what I mean? Just no frills, very simple handle. But it's still a good looking knife, even though it's pretty simple, And it comes with a pocket clip, too. A lot of people who are just getting into slip joints say, man, I wish they had clips, though. Well, this is an answer to that problem. Unfortunately, you can't just go and buy these. He just drops them whenever he makes them. I think he's done 3 batches so far. Um, but it's a popular one, so I'd imagine he would do them again at some point. I hope he does. It's just incredible, man. This is a really, really awesome knife. And then back to the traditional side of things, the quintessential Suway back, the GEC 47 Viper. Freaking awesome, man. Lovely, lovely bone handles. I think they call it a, what do they call it? Let me see here. Is it this too? Yeah. Stonewash Blue Natural Bone. Genuine North American cattle bone. This thing's amazing, man. Super, traditional Wharncliffe. Really good for utility cutting. It's a fine tip. Pretty good slicer too. No belly to work with. So if you need belly for, cutting a piece of rope down on a flat piece of wood or whatever, this isn't going to be the best thing for the job. But it's doable, I will be honest. I don't love having my only carry be a Wharncliffe. And it's funny because I used to be that way. I used to think that Wharncliffes were the best blade shape. But that was when I was just getting into knives and I hadn't done a lot of cutting yet. The more cutting you do, the more time you spend with something like this or a spear point, the more you realize that it's the best blade shape. Or like a spider code with like a leaf-shaped blade, that's the best blade shape because it has both. It's got a low enough tip to do good utility cutting, and it's got a little belly. It's the best. So this is awesome as a backup knife because it's just great for fine work, fine little detail utility cuts, and slicing. Cutting cardboard's good for that too. But that's it. So. As amazing as this is, I don't think I would carry this as my only knife very often. Again, it's doable, but if I'm going to pick one of these knives to be my only slip joint that I carry, it's going to be this one right here. This was my favorite of all these knives to carry, surprisingly enough. Now, I love these GECs. I love the Slip 7. I love the ORJ. But if I'm going to have one slip joint in my pocket, I think I'm going to pick the Jackwolf Vampire Jack, man. This thing is just awesome, dude. It's got really nice spear point blade shape. Now, this is a do-everything blade shape right here. Pointy tip, low enough to do great utility cutting, and you got that belly for when you need to kind of do this kind of thing, rocking back, using that belly. And not only is it very useful, this is just a badass looking knife, man. Look at this thing. Just look at this. It's just awesome, dude. This version is the Jig Titanium with the hand rubbed satin blade. It's a hollow grind. It's thin behind the edge. It's got a pretty good sharpening choil. The walk and talk is super heavy. Really heavy, really poppy. This thing just feels so solid. It feels like it feels indestructible. There's something about it just makes it feel more solid than most of these. Actually, the ORJ feels really solid too. There's something about just the walk and talk and the stiffness of the action. I mean, there's no wiggle on this blade when it's open. It just feels super solid, man. So, I absolutely love this knife. Absolutely love it. The finish that Jackwolf does on their titanium is kind of like a darker finish. It's almost like what Chris Reeve does on their plain Jane knives. Let me grab one. It's kind of a darker finish. Do you see what I mean? As opposed to like the ORJ, which is kind of a lighter finish. I'm not sure what they're doing there to achieve that darker finish. I mean, this is like raw tie, I would think. And this is some kind of, it's not a coating, but it's some kind of finish they put. I don't know. Whatever it is, it's darker and it gets snail trails really easily, which might annoy some people, but if you're like me, I think snail trails look really good. Like, look at this thing. Doesn't this look good? Like it's just used a lot. Just looks like well loved and used, and I like that look. I was also carrying this knife in my pocket with no slip. Um, Actually, with all of these knives, except the Yellow Rose and the Viper. All the moderns I carried with no slip. Just because, number one, it's faster to get them out. If you pull something out of your pocket, you have to take it out of the slip and then open it. So it's quicker to just not have it in a slip. And number two, I kind of wanted them to bang around with the other things in my pocket and, get this kind of worn finish on them. I think it's a good look. So, yeah. This is my favorite Jack Wolf. You can still find them floating around here and there. I looked the other day. They're not like readily available, but if you look hard enough, I found some in stock. I forget where, but you can find them. And maybe he'll do another run of these. Who knows? So, a slip joint only. It's absolutely doable, guys. I did not run into a single scenario where I was like, shit, man, this isn't working. I need a locking knife. Not one. And I think that's the case for most of us. Most of us people, guys, gals who carry knives don't need a locking knife. We could get by with the slip joint absolutely just fine. Am I going to go back to carrying locking knives? Yeah. But I think I'm going to do this more often where I carry only a slip joint. I really enjoyed it. I got a lot of use out of these knives, more than I usually do, because like I said, I would grab the locking knife over the slip joint in my pocket. So it was just nice. Also, it kind of felt, I don't know, it felt overall like a little more relaxed, maybe? It sounds weird to say, but, you have to be more deliberate with your cutting. You can't just whip out a knife in half a second, flick it open and cut. It's more deliberate motion. You really consider what you're doing, stop, pull it out, grab the blade, pull it to the half stop, pull it to the full open, do your cutting, snap it shut. You got to watch your fingers on in the way. It's just more deliberate, and you're kind of more present in the moment when you're using a slip joint, which I really liked. So, love all these knives very much. But the Vampire Jack, I think, takes it. That's it, folks. Hope you enjoyed the video. I love you, and I will see you soon. Later.